Do you know how the 10-year Trojan War ended? I'll give you a hint. It wasn't brave Achilles slaying the villainous Hector or the wily Odysseus slaying the man-stealing serpent Geryon. No, the war between the Greeks and the Trojans ended with a big wooden horse and a whole lot of lying. What I'm about to tell you now comes to us from ancient Greece via Homer's epic poem, The Iliad. And whether it really happened or not, this tale of derring-do has survived all the way to our current day and inspired everything from paintings to operas to animated Disney movies. Oh, and also another thing too. You ever heard of a Trojan horse? Yeah, me neither. Well, let's get to it. The Iliad starts pretty close to the end of the 10-year war. Tensions are high, tempers are higher, and both sides are dead set on finishing the job. For the Greeks, though, things are looking kind of bleak. They desperately want to get into the walled city of Troy, but they've been trying to do that for 10 years without success. What gives? Well, the Greeks did have one advantage, which was their navy. So while they couldn't take the city by brute force, they could blockade it and just wait for the people inside to starve to death. Problem was, the people of Troy had managed to stockpile enough food to last them decades, if not longer. So the Greeks were in for a very long wait, which was totally not what they wanted. And thus, desperate times called for desperate measures. Enter Odysseus, aka one of the most famous heroes of Greek mythology. To say Odysseus was wily would be a horrific understatement. Even his name is a synonym for cleverness in modern English. That's how good he is. So when he hatched a plan to fool the Trojans and sack their city, everyone listened. Here's how it went down. First, Odysseus ordered his men to build a massive wooden horse. It was so big that it would take lots of manpower to move it around. Now, depending on who you ask, this horse was either 20 cubits or 30 cubits tall, with each cubit equaling about 5 feet. So call it somewhere between 30 and 45 feet tall. To put that into perspective, the average male back then was about 5'4". So imagine a horse taller than any man standing on his tippy toes. That's what these guys built. Then Odysseus ordered his sailors to pretend they were leaving. He gave the horse as a gift to the goddess of wisdom, Athena, and sailed away as fast as he could. Once Odysseus was out of sight, a few Greek soldiers snuck out of their camp, crept into Troy, and hid inside the horse. Now here's where the Trojan horse part comes in. The next morning, the Trojans awoke to find the gigantic horse sitting outside their gates. And because no one had seen the Greeks for a decade, they assumed those who made the horse must have sailed home. Also, there was some debate as to whether they should bring the horse inside or destroy it. Laocoon, a Trojan priest, was against bringing the horse inside the city, and according to Homer, he even tried to warn everyone else about it. But people just didn't listen. Some accounts say that Laocoon tried to warn everyone because he saw an inscription on the horse that read, "Beware of Greeks bearing gifts." And other accounts say he knew an earthquake had struck the area recently, and he thought the horse might be a trick of Poseidon, the god of the sea, to punish the Trojans. Either way, Laocoon ended up getting his ass handed to him by Apollo, the god of music and poetry, in response for insulting Apollo's sacred precincts. And once Laocoon was done getting murked, the Trojans figured the gods were on their side, so they celebrated with a huge festival. Then they got drunk, partying hard and bringing the horse right inside the city walls. And that is pretty much the dumbest thing the Trojans did during the entire war. When the festivities were over, the Greeks hiding inside the horse waited until nightfall. Then they snuck out, opened the city gates, and let the rest of the Greek army in. They looted the city and took anyone they wanted back to Greece. And to top it all off, they burnt the place to the ground. So that's it, right? Happy ending for the Greeks, sad ending for the Trojans. The moral of the story is, don't trust people who bring you giant wooden horses. Well, it's not quite that simple. You see, there are a few different versions of the Trojan War story, and none of them agree on exactly how the war ended. This version with the Trojan horse is by far the most popular and most enduring, but it's not the only one. Another version says that after 10 years of fighting, Zeus decided he was tired of it. So he struck the earth with an earthquake, splitting the land and opening up a cavern deep beneath the foundations of Troy. Then Poseidon, the god of the sea, grabbed both Hector and Achilles and yanked them into the underworld. Finally, there was nobody left to fight, and Zeus declared the war over. In yet another telling, Achilles died before the war even started after stepping on a sea snake and getting poisoned. And without their greatest hero, the Greeks lost the war. In this version, the Greeks did eventually beat the Trojans, but only after they made a deal with Persephone, the queen of the underworld, to raise the dead. So yeah, multiple endings. Not all of them involve a giant wooden horse. In fact, we can't actually find anything that mentions a Trojan horse in any contemporary written records from ancient Troy. We know the story is probably based on some actual event, but we may be reading more into it than what was originally intended. For instance, some scholars think the Trojan horse may have actually been a metaphor for a type of siege weapon used by the Greeks called a siege tower. Siege towers were big wooden structures with pointed bits at the top, kind of like a battering ram. They'd roll these things up to the top of a wall, bash the gate in, and then run through and kill everyone inside. So scholars wonder if the ancient writers just used a more colorful metaphor when describing a siege tower making its way into the city. We also know earthquakes were common along the northwestern coast of Turkey, where Troy was located. Maybe the people of Troy recorded an earthquake happening during the siege and explained it as the god Poseidon punishing them. Over time, that story morphed into the idea of a single hero sneaking into the city and causing all the trouble. Whatever really happened, though, we can be sure that someone wanted everyone to hear about it. The Iliad itself was composed hundreds of years after the supposed events of the Trojan War, and its author included details about the city's destruction to emphasize the importance of the story. Even if the Trojan horse part was a complete fabrication, it served a purpose. As for why the story stuck around for so long, well, we have to thank the Romans for that. Virgil, a Roman poet, featured the Trojan horse in his epic poem, the Aeneid. His version was very similar to the Greek one, except he made the horse a gift from Venus instead of Athena. This helped cement the story of the Trojan horse in European culture. And later writers like Ovid and even Dante copied Virgil's version pretty much verbatim. Anyway, folks, you can't talk strength without talking strategy. That's why Skillshare is so great. Their classes help you master any skill you want to learn, and they add new classes every week. Whether you want to learn more about writing stories or just brushing up on your illustration skills, Skillshare has you covered. Plus, with a library full of thousands of classes, you're bound to find something that sparks your curiosity. I've been learning about storytelling from this class, but I also tried this one about character design. With such a wide range of topics available, Skillshare is the best way to expand your body of knowledge. That means no more wondering if you're smart enough to learn something new, because you already are. Thanks for watching, folks. If you liked this video, check out another one on the origins of Robin Hood, or click this other link for a video on Genghis Khan. As always, it's me. Subscribe for more history.